so Facebook would be the same and YouTube would be the same, the terms of use and the licensing, how's that all fit together?
You have to read each social media site's terms of use.
That sounds like fun.
It is. And you know, there's something like 400 different social media sites out there, and I haven't read all of them. I've read the major ones. So something like Facebook, when you post something on Facebook, you are granting them a license to put it on their site, to make copies of, to do derivative works, to allow other users the rights to repost on their site. So that's how you have the share feature, and you can put photos that, you know, my sister-in-law puts a photo on there and I can repost it to my feed because I think it's really cool. And it's because I've granted those licensing rights in there. Facebook's licensing terms say that they have the right to use everything until you delete your site, or until you delete your user profile. As soon as you delete your user profile, they're not supposed to keep using anything that you've posted. With the exception if other people have reposted your stuff, then they can keep using it until that other person also deletes their user profile. YouTube says that they just have to take it down within a reasonable commercial period. Because the idea is that with YouTube, they've distributed it so many places, it might not be something that they can immediately get rid of. It might take them 10 to 15 business days to get rid of it. MySpace says as soon as you delete your user account that they'll delete anything on their site. I think Flickr's the same way. LinkedIn is one of the exceptions, where LinkedIn says that they keep the rights to it even after you delete your user account. They're the only ones with a social media, the only social media site that I've seen that says that. Twitter says that you get all the rights in your things. Twitter's a little bit of an exception because as far as I know, and most attorneys I've talked to think the same way, 140 characters, you're not going to get a copyright in anyways. There's not enough artistic value in 140 characters to get a copyright. So having a copyright, you know, having this licensing copyright policy on Twitter is kind of iffy because, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get a copyright in 140 characters. So, but they do say that you own everything that you put on their site. You're just giving them a license.
Twitter just came out with their picture.
Photo.
Yeah, and I heard that they are retaining the rights for that, and TwitPic is doing that also.
And I haven't read that, and they might say that they get to keep it on there even after you leave. And I just haven't read it yet to see what they say. But as far as your post, you're probably not going to get a copyright in your 140 character post anyways.
So I'm a service provider, and when my client hires me, I go out and perform work. And assuming that I don't have the conversation ahead of time with my client, I want to take pictures of my work. Assuming there's no photograph or no logos of my client in the photo, who owns the rights to the photo? Me or the client? And I mean, it's wise to speak to them clearly before I post and all that sort of stuff. But I also want to identify what the project was, because that's a case study for me.
And in most cases, you want to have in your contract with your client a marketing clause. You want to have a clause in your contract, and this is for website developers, landscape people, pretty much anybody, you know, possibly even real estate agents, anybody that sells something. You want to have a marketing clause in your contract that states, I can use your name for marketing purposes, I can use images of the project for marketing purposes, and you grant me all these rights before, you know, as soon as we enter into the contract. Because otherwise it's going to be a question. And this kind of gets into like what you can and can't post online as far as videos and as far as images. And it really depends on whether or not you can post an image, like you're talking about, of your projects. Where is the project taking place? There's a difference between private space and public space. So if you're an architect and you're taking an image of a building, so you design the Denver Art Museum and you take a picture of that building, anybody could take a picture of that building. It's kind of in the public realm because you can see it. If you are an interior decorator and you're decorating the inside of my house, the idea that's a private space. I don't expect people to come into my house and start taking pictures of it. So that you couldn't probably post without my permission posting it. So it depends on what service you provide and whether it's a public sphere or is it a private sphere. And the best thing to do is, you know, anything you find online, anytime you want to post images, the best thing to do is ask for permission first. He said that everything in here is going to be videotaped. You were put on notice that everything in here was going to be videotaped and put online and talked about and everything else. In addition, this is a public event that's open to the public. You have lost your right to privacy when you come to a public event. If he had taken a picture, if I go to his office to meet about getting his services and he takes a picture in his office, I would probably never expect to have a picture of me taken in his office when I'm meeting for services. So in that case, that would be a private event that you would probably have to ask my permission for. However, here it's a public event. Nobody thinks that they have a right to privacy while they're sitting here listening to this conversation. In addition, even better, he said, hey, by the way, this is going to be videotaped, so everybody's put on notice that you could end up online and the next Rebecca Black, so.
Very good.
That's just John trying to cover for himself.
Let's see, I just had a quick question about YouTube again. So what's the status of embedding video, is the question that is on the sheet?
It depends. I know. With YouTube, you can do several different licenses with YouTube. So if I put a video on there and it's a private video, then you're limited to something like 50 views a day, and you can't embed somebody that comes in and looks at that can't embed that video because I've defined what I told YouTube. If it's a public video where I've given all my rights to YouTube while I'm a user of YouTube, because as soon as I leave YouTube, they can take it off. In most cases, in YouTube's license agreement, so in their terms of service under their license, they say that not only do I grant YouTube the right to distribute and publish my video, I grant the users of YouTube the right to view and distribute my video. It has to be through YouTube service though. So I can't go on YouTube, scrape the video and put it on my site without it being through YouTube's embedded video player. I can't go in and somehow, scrape it and put it in an email. But I can share it via email. I can embed it on my site. I can do anything I want with that video as long as YouTube says it's okay. So it depends on what the licensing rights that I granted to YouTube are. And then if I've granted YouTube said, you know what, anybody can use this on their site that they want, then you can use it on your site with an embedded video. So if you're putting things on YouTube, especially if they have any kind of commercial value, it's a really good idea to make sure that in the bottom of the screen or somewhere on there it has your information. Because what you don't want is to have this really good video of landscape services. You put it on YouTube and all of a sudden some other landscape company embeds it on their site and your information isn't on it.
So, okay, so you address taking photos in public, so, and posting it on the web. What about selling it? You say you go to a car show, you take some great photos, you go to a parade, take some photos of people on the parade. Can you sell that, or are you just authorized to post it for free?
It depends. Unfortunately, it depends. And most of the time, if you're in a public space, so you're at a parade, you're at a public event where somebody's speaking, in most cases, you have the rights to sell them. As long as it's a business event that's open to the public, that people have a reasonable expectation that their picture will be taken, it's okay.
You videotaped this.
Yes.
And you're going to post it online.
Yes.
And you showed the title to that book
Yes.
on your iPad. Can you just comment? I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
It depends.
You know, in most cases that would be fine because it's such a small area of this. Now, if it was posting the title of the book and reading verbatim from the book that says, this happened in the book, this happened in the book, then the whole video in whole is mostly of the book. It's not happen to be just like a side thing. I mean, there's also a Starbucks coffee cup.
I put this here intentionally to see if anybody would bring this up.
There's also, I don't think Pete's doesn't actually have their name on here. There's an iPhone. I mean, those are just kind of things that happen to be in the video, but they're not the subject of the video. Now, if we were sitting here and we had a huge banner that came up to here that had Coca-Cola on it, that could be an issue. But because this is just a small part of it, it's not that big.
How many product placements can you get in that video?
This is how we fund this whole adventure, Yeah.
And it's mostly Apple. That's a great question, because there's sort of a juxtaposition there. What makes product placement versus copyright infringement?
Product placement, they're paying you for it.
So you have to get them to pay you ahead of time?
Well, and so product placement, they're paying you to put something into the image to advertise for them. Copyright or trademark infringement is you've got that's the main thing that the video is about.
This kind of leads me to another question I might still. We're cease and desist letters. You alluded to in the beginning that, that they're negative, or you don't ever want to get one. Right. There are companies that send them out to deter you from bad, to eliminate bad publicity.
Right.
And you know, you might post an image of their product on your site, like Coca-ColaSucks.com or whoever, and then start talking about how bad they are. And they'll send you
There's a couple of different cease and desist letters you can get. You can get a cease and desist letter that just says, we think that you might be infringing, please take this off. The cease and desist letters, and usually in most cases you can look at them and say, yeah, we probably really are infringing, or no, we're not, and figure out whether or not. If you get a cease and desist letter, there's mills out there that have kind of bought up photos or bought up blog posts so that they can go out and send cease and desist letters. They look for images all over the web that are copyrighted, and they buy the copyright for them, and then they send you a cease and desist letter that states something like, you need to pay us $4,000 because you've been using this without permission. Those are the cease and desist letters you don't want to get, because in a lot of cases, you don't have any kind of defense for the copyright infringement. You took a photo from somebody else's site, you put it on your site, and you didn't have permission. And that's kind of the cease and desist letters that you don't want to get.
Do they have to prove that you profited from that use of that site? Because that's really the bottom line. If you stand to profit from something, odds are...
We're out of time on this. Elizabeth will be around. Thank you so much. It was great information. And, you know, we have these twice a year on the legal issues, and I hope this kind of gave a very good overview of where some of these lines are. It depends a little bit sometimes, but Steve Kessler with Denver Dataman.
Morning. So, also, if you want more information about this, Elizabeth does an awesome blog, and you can read her blog or register for her e-newsletter.
You just can't post it on your website.
Right.
Actually, you just have to email me for permission, and I usually...
Oh, I was about to say, I was sure you would probably license it for the right fee. But... So, my name's Steve Kessler. I'm the owner of Denver Dataman. We're a computer training and web development company. We do training-driven solutions. So, what we're going to do today, you guys are going to come together as a group and make a tip about that social media. So for those of you who have been here before, talk amongst yourselves. Some of you have good ideas about how to use Facebook in an interesting way, how to use Twitter in an interesting way, and you come back to the whole group with a tip. And we would encourage you to share those tips on our meetup group, and we're trying to aggregate more information there so that that becomes really a hot spot of social media information on the internet.
You know,
that's not going to hurt. You know,
What I learned this morning on LinkedIn, because that's something that I want to start utilizing more, is how powerful the search engine is, where you can use Boolean logic and or if, etc., to search for certain kinds of connections, certain kinds of information on different companies. So you can find the information that you need, the people that you need to connect with to do certain things in your company.
Twitter says that you can have 140 characters. That's not entirely accurate. If, in fact, you want your tweets to be retweeted or friend with somebody else, you really should start to consider limiting the tweets to 120 characters, so that if somebody could do that without shortcutting anything that you say.
We suggest that you start by using Facebook as a person to learn what you like about Facebook, what you don't like about other businesses using Facebook, and then pick up some good tips for then how you can start developing your business Facebook page. But use it first as a consumer or as a person before you start using it as a business.
Earn your way in.
Earn your way in, exactly. Earn your way in, and then pick up some good tips along the way.
All right, Facebook too.
Elizabeth Meach with Broker Insurance. We were talking a little bit about the fact that when you have the ability through Hootsuite to schedule your Facebook posts in advance. So let's say you're going out of town for the week, you can put in your Facebook posts ahead of time, schedule them on the calendar, and have them post without it. And that was something new that I learned today. So that seemed like a great way to do it. Make sure it's out there.
So Foursquare is a check-in application, kind of similar to what Facebook has as a check-in app. Foursquare, you use it to check in. They've got about 10 million users, I believe, nationwide. It's great to use as a consumer. It's a great app to use in finding local specials. So with where we are right now, if I go look at Foursquare, it'll tell me there's 20 specials nearby. I can go see what those specials are, so I might get something for lunch and get a discount and all of that just by checking in on Foursquare. If you're a business, it's a great way for you to advertise your specials, for you to get your message out, your word out, to let others know that you are nearby. Okay, so depending on what kind of business you are, that might work for you. It is also a great way to reward your more frequent visitors, kind of like frequent flyer miles, right? So the people that come to your business more, then you can give them a special on Foursquare.
How do you measure the ROI of these activities? And we'll get ideas from everybody. I think that'll be a real good meeting. And then on September 16th, we're going to talk about creating a social media action plan. What are the things you ought to be doing? Where are you at? Where should you be going? And what should you be looking at in the future? Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. I appreciate it.